to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In business, we talk all about small business here, and I'm thrilled to kick up the program today with an award-winning social psychologist, multi-best-selling author, and a premier global authority on human behavior and organizational performance, and that is Dr. Ron Friedman, who is the author of the highly anticipated book, Super Teams, The Science and Secrets of High-Performing Teams. To uncover the real-world metrics of elite collaboration, Dr. Friedman conducted the most comprehensive study of real-life teams ever engineered, surveying more than 6,000 workers across high-stakes industries, including the NFL, major tech firms, and television networks, to analyze over 100,000 data points. He's also the author of 5 Things High-Performing Teams Do Differently, which stands as the second most read article in the entire history of the Harvard Business Review. Welcome to the program, Ron. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to understand why intelligence alone doesn't guarantee success, why adding a star player can actively tank your unit's performance, and how leaders can build a bulletproof group that scales with absolute precision. So much there. But again, you've spent years analyzing behavioral science, and again, your work has generated some of the most read articles in the history of the Harvard Business Review. So super teams. Why has corporate America spent decades clinging to some comfortable collaboration myths despite data that proves them false?
I think most leaders want great teams. What they don't have time for is reading academic journal articles. So I've made it my mission as a psychology professor to translate into plain English key strategies that any leaders can use to elevate their team's performance and create a great workplace. And that's really been the theme of my career.
That's powerful stuff. And indeed, again, a lot of folks are not going to read the Harvard Business Review necessarily, but you've spent these last few years gathering over 100,000 data points across many different arenas, including the NFL, television networks, and big tech. So when you compared a locker room in professional football to a boardroom in Silicon Valley, what was the singular universal metric that separated an elite super team from a mediocre group?
Well, I don't think we can distill it down to a single metric, but what we found are some common themes. And what we discovered when we did this research is that super teams are different than average teams in 3 key ways. The first is they get more done by better managing their time, energy, and attention. The second key strength is they don't just collaborate well, they actively look for ways to make one another better. And the third key strength is even when things are going well, they're not satisfied. They're constantly looking to build their skills and improve over time. And what I find really inspiring about this research is that every single one of these strengths is learnable, which means by building the right habits, any team can dramatically improve its performance.
So interesting. And, Ron, I'm curious. Many CEOs believe that if they have a struggling department, the solution is to hire a high-priced rock star to fix it. Your research shows that adding a star performer can actually decrease group performance. What occurs mechanically inside a team's dynamic when a star player is introduced or deployed?
Anytime you have status imbalances, meaning where everyone is looking for one person to carry the load, you're not going to have the best possible team. And let me take a step back and tell you why I think most people don't actually work in teams. A lot of times we use the word teams in the workplace, but there's a difference between having a team mentality and just having a group of people who work in the same department. In order to create that team mentality, which is so crucial for high performance, you need 3 things. The first thing you need is a shared goal. You need everyone pulling in the same direction. So if I, for example, want to go home at 5:00 and you want to get promoted, we have different goals and we're going to have some strain between us. The second thing you need beyond a shared goal is you need role clarity. I need to know what I'm responsible for, and I need to know what you're responsible for, and I need to know how those 2 things intersect. Anytime we don't have that role clarity, either a ball is going to get dropped or we're going to have turf wars. Either one of those is problematic. And the third thing you need beyond a shared goal and role clarity is you need something that psychologists call interdependence. That's just a fancy term. All it means is we need to believe that we need each other in order to succeed. So if we're in a sales team and I can meet my goals without you doing anything for me, we're not going to be a team because we don't need each other. So if you don't have those three things, if you don't have the shared goal, the role clarity, and interdependence, you don't have a team. You have a recipe for dysfunction. And I think most teams, quote unquote, that's the issue that they're encountering every day, is that they're not real teams. And the good news is any leader can build that mentality, but it takes some doing. It doesn't happen automatically.
One of the things I've learned from you, Ron, is that elite teams are not defined by a total absence of conflict. Teams have all sorts of, even the most impressive of teams have all sorts of dynamics going on, but an absence of conflict is not one of them. So how does a leader teach their team to engage in constructive, high-performance disagreement without letting it devolve into toxic workplace drama?
Well, one of the things we know is that on the best teams, they don't view disagreement as a sign of dysfunction. They view it as a pathway for making better decisions. And that's a completely different mindset. When you realize that if my teammates are challenging me, that's going to lead me to make a better decision because now I'm stress testing the decision. That's a good thing. And one of the things I teach leaders in super teams is one of the best questions you can ask at a meeting is the following, is to say, before you reach an important decision, say, if this decision doesn't work out, why might that be? And when you ask a question like that, it opens the doors for people to disagree with you respectfully, and it models that behavior where you're welcoming disagreement. So it starts with the leader. It starts with the leader asking people to push against what they are going to do next, because that allows people to see, okay, if the leader's open to it, I need to be too. And we also have research showing that when a leader asks a question like that invites people to push back, it leads the group to make a better decision by about 30%. So you're getting a 30% improvement on decision just by asking a simple question.
I'm chatting with one of the premier global authorities on human behavior and organizational performance. That is Dr. Ron Friedman, who is the author of the highly anticipated book, Super Teams, The Science and Secrets of High-Performing Teams. As mentioned earlier, Ron is also the author of the second most read article in the entire history of the Harvard Business Review, 5 Things High-Performing Teams Do Differently. And it's truly an honor, again, learning as much as possible during our brief conversation from you, Ron. And your Harvard Business Review work highlights what high-performing teams do differently to keep things getting better over time. How do super teams insulate themselves from complacency once they've already hit their primary targets or achieved market dominance?
Yeah, this is something that's really key because especially in today's day and age with AI, unless you're learning, you're dying. You need to be continuously pushing yourself to learn new things. And it's true for us as individuals. We all have a psychological need for growth. If we're not growing, we're going to get disengaged. And it's true for teams as well. And what we find are some simple practices that the best teams use to continuously improve. And one of those key practices is they are much higher on feedback seeking. That's a psychological term that means they're going to one another and saying, hey, what do you think of this? They're going to their teammates. They're showing their work early. They're getting suggestions and they're making improvements before the work gets to the client or to the boss. So that's one way in which they continuously improve. Another way is that they run way more experiments, 48% more experiments we see on high performing teams than on average teams. Average teams, as soon as they find something that works, they stick with it. They keep doing the same thing over and over again, and invariably they fall behind. But the key is to always be working on something that you and your teammates aren't 100% sure is going to work out. So that can be something really small like A/B testing a landing page, or it could be much bigger like trying to sell a product offering that doesn't yet exist just to see if a client bites. The key is you want to always be working on something because even if you fail, you're going to be able to apply those insights to improve the next time.
Absolutely. And in 30 seconds or less, for the business owner driving right now who's looking at their current staff and feels like they're managing a fractured, underperforming group, what is the very first diagnostic step that they should take tomorrow morning? Start turning that crowd into a true super team.
You know, we talked before about how you need that sense of interdependence, right? You need to feel like you need each other in order to succeed. Most people don't feel that way, but here's an easy thing that any leader can do to create that feeling among their team. And it is the next time you want to reward someone because they've done a really good job, don't just reward the individual. Instead, reward the team in their honor. So for example, if you work late on Monday night to complete a project, I might take the team out to lunch on Tuesday in your honor. That sends a signal that when one of us succeeds, all of us succeed.
Absolutely. Ron Friedman, really, really enjoyed the conversation. I know our listeners will want to find the book and learn more from you. How can they do so?
Well, when I wrote Super Teams, I really wanted people to apply it, not just read about it. So I created a free course. Anybody can get it. Comes free with the book. You go to superteamsmasterclass.com and you can download the book. It also comes with a discussion guide you can use to share the best insights with your teammates.
You don't want to miss this book, Super Teams, The Science and Secrets of High-Performing Teams. Not just the book, as Dr. Ron Friedman just said, but rather a course comes with it as well. Everybody can get started on this journey today. We'll link in the show notes as well. A quick break here on the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Don't touch that dial. We will be right back.